Bonjour, hello. So this is the second live lesson today. Just finished up a brief 30-minute lesson in Spanish. And so here we are in a brief French lesson. So we're going to get started for some French for beginners. And so, bonjour tout le monde. My name is Jonathan. Je m'appelle Jonathan. So we're going to get into, let me get my screen share here. And let me move here, make sure I'm here, screen share. And here we are, beginning French lesson. Okay, so who am I? Who's Jonathan? Qui suis-je? So I'm an American teacher from Southern California. I've been living abroad since 2002. I started learning French in 1997 in my third year of high school. Before that, I did 2 years of Spanish, and then I continued my third year of Spanish and then my first year of French, and then that kind of helped accelerate my study of French. And then in my fourth year of high school, I jumped from French 1 to French 3, and I was in Spanish 4 at the time. So knowing Spanish really helped accelerate my French studies. So I took 2 years of French, but I did level 1, level 3. And then I started tutoring French in 1999. I continued learning French at university and got a bachelor's in French in 2002. So yeah, 3 years after I finished high school. And a big thing that helped me learn my French was a program called French in Action. You can find that on, I think, for PBS and from the University of Yale. I think it was a French professor, Pierre Capretz. So it's a wonderful series, and that really helped boost my French. It was like only in French, and it was just a lot of immersion, listening, observing, speaking as much as possible. I visited France for the first time when I was in my last year of high school, and that really inspired me to want to move back to Europe. And so after I left the university in 2002, I moved to Paris. And at first I was there on vacation for a couple months, and then I went to find out some information from the Sorbonne. They said I could study there. And then I went to the Cité Universitaire and the American dormitory and got a room, and things started to fall in place. And then I had to go back to Los Angeles to get a student visa. And I started in 2002. So, and I lived there for 6 years. I studied at the Sorbonne. I did lettres modernes, like French literature. That was really difficult. And then I switched back to music, which I also studied at the university. And then I managed to get a licence en musicologie in 2005. And so all of my my studies when I was at the university were in French. It was a little difficult at first to get used to the French language as the instruction language, but I adapted very quickly, and that really helped speed up my French. And then I started teaching business English at many international companies in Paris. And then my students started to give me a lot of business vocabulary that they wanted to help me translate into English. So I started to learn a lot of business vocabulary in French. And so between my university studies and then the business experience, my French got really advanced during those 6 years that I was living there. My wife is French Mexican, so I continue to speak French on a daily basis, even though I'm living here in Mexico. And so I've been using French basically for about 19 years now, over half my life. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, that's my experience for French language. And in terms of the beginners here, we're looking at like an A1 level, which is self-understood, speaking in a simple way, asking and answering some basic questions, and you can start to communicate with somebody if they're speaking to you slowly and clearly, and making an effort to kind of help you as you're practicing the language. And you can probably make some short sentences, even though you may have to look for some vocabulary words. It's not such a problem. You can basically talk about some familiar topics, like yourself, your friends, your family, where you live, things you like to do, or things that you have, and you can kind of communicate. So that's what we're going to look and focus on here today. So we're looking at some introductions, which would be introducing yourself. And so here in an informal conversation, say salut, so hi. And a simple thing you could ask somebody, like if it's your friend, like quoi de neuf, quoi de neuf. So like, what's up, what's new, quoi de neuf. Je m'appelle, comment tu t'appelles? So what is your name? Comment tu t'appelles? Je m'appelle Jonathan, or Jonathan. Je m'appelle Jonathan. Comment tu t'appelles? Je te présente mon ami, or with an E. Je te présente mon ami, a girl or a woman. Comment s'appelle-t-il, if it's a man, or comment s'appelle-t-elle, a woman. So il s'appelle, his name is, or elle s'appelle, her name is. And if you meet this person, you would probably say enchanté. So nice to meet you. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. Enchanté. And if you add the letter E at the end, this is for a woman to say enchanté. Je viens de is like I come from. D'où viens-tu? Where are you from? Where do you come from? J'habite à, j'habite au, j'habite à la, j'habite au, j'habite en. These are all these prepositions that might be used with a certain place or a country, depending on if this name of a country is masculine or feminine, or with a silent vowel sound, or if this is plural, or this is maybe a region. So these are all these kind of prepositions that you might need. And maybe where do you live? Où est-ce que tu habites? So these are some basic questions that you could be asking somebody to. What's their name? Where are they from? Where do they live? And if you happen to be from and live in the same place, you would probably use et, and. Je viens de Paris et j'habite à Paris. Or maybe a difference, like je viens de la Californie, mais j'habite à Paris. Or mais j'habite au Mexique. Like I live in Mexico, California. Okay. And so move on here a little bit, getting into some conversation starters. So these would be, what do you like to do? Qu'est-ce que tu aimes faire? Qu'est-ce que tu aimes faire? And here we have some of these pictures of things that you might like to do. J'aime lire. J'aime voyager. J'aime regarder des films. J'aime écouter de la musique. J'aime faire de l'exercice. J'aime faire la cuisine. What do you like to read? Maybe after you establish that somebody likes something, maybe you could get into some of the specifics and say something like, qu'est-ce que tu aimes lire? What do you like to read? So you could use this what do you like with a couple of these other things. So, qu'est-ce que tu aimes écouter? What do you like to listen to? Qu'est-ce que tu aimes faire? So this, qu'est-ce que tu aimes faire? Qu'est-ce que tu aimes regarder? What do you like to watch? So in terms of reading, j'aime les romans et les contes. I like novels and stories. Où aimes-tu voyager? So where do you like to travel? So aimes-tu, this is another structure called an inversion, where we invert the subject and the verb, and we put a hyphen here. We can generally use this est-ce que, and we put the subject, and then we put the verb here. So this est-ce que, où est-ce que tu aimes voyager? So I could put this, est-ce que tu aimes voyager? Or I could say, aimes-tu voyager? There's two different ways to ask the question. And I could say, I like traveling in France. J'aime voyager en France. En France. I could ask about the movies. Quel film aimes-tu? Or quel film est-ce que tu aimes? I could have either one of those. Quel film aimes-tu? Or quel film est-ce que tu aimes? J'aime les films d'aventure. Like I like adventure movies. Quel sport pratiques-tu? What sports do you like to practice? Or what sports do you practice? J'aime jouer au tennis. J'aime jouer au tennis. I like to play tennis. And quelle est ta musique préférée? J'adore le jazz et le rock. So I love jazz and rock. So this is my preferred music or my favorite music. What is your favorite music? And I could say I love jazz, I love rock. So not just what I like. Sorry, there's a mistake here. J'aime. Sorry, I'm having to do some of the proofreading live. Sorry about that. So yeah, this is, as one of my mentors says, you need to just do something live and don't worry about it being perfect. It'll improve over time. So, so these are these questions and these comments that you could use to talk about your likes, your interests. And as you notice here, I put a couple of these letters kind of in bold and underlined. And basically, if I have multi-syllable words, more than one syllable, the word stress pattern in French is very simple. Just stress the last syllable. So it's really not a complicated rule in French. Basically, everything that you read, the last syllable is what gets the stress. So j'adore, like jouer, d'aventure, voyager, roman, écouter, regarder, voyager, pratique, musique, préféré, salut, je m'appelle, présente, appelle, enchanté, viens, habite. And when you use inversion, you end up putting the stress like on the last syllable of this phrase. So like, comment s'appelle-t-il? Comment s'appelle-t-elle? D'où viens-tu? So here, je viens, but because I have this in an inversion, I'm stressing the tu. So, d'où viens-tu? Or, où est-ce que tu habites? So if I change this to où habites-tu, I would put the stress on it tu. So those are some basics here for introducing yourself, putting together a basic conversation about what you like and what your interests are. So I'm going to try to imagine a basic conversation here. There's unfortunately no learner that I see here to help me prepare a conversation here, so I'll just make one up. So, salut, quoi de neuf? Ah, bon, pas grand-chose, so not much. Comment tu t'appelles? Ah, je m'appelle Marc. Ah, et toi? So I'll put that on here as well. That's another thing that we looked in the Spanish one. Et toi, and you? Et toi. You could also use moi aussi. Or even a pareillement, like likewise. So, je m'appelle Marc. Et toi? Comment tu t'appelles? Je m'appelle Pierre. D'accord. Enchanté, Pierre. Pareillement. Je te présente mon ami Philippe. Enchanté, Philippe. Ça va? Ah, ça va, merci. D'où viens-tu, Pierre? Je viens de Bordeaux, mais j'habite à Strasbourg. Ah, ok. Et toi? Je viens de Marseille, mais j'habite à Lyon. Ah, très bien. Okay. Et Marc, d'où viens-tu? Je viens de Lille, mais j'habite à Poitiers. Très bien, très bien. Donc, Marc, qu'est-ce que tu aimes faire? J'aime lire. D'accord. Qu'est-ce que tu aimes lire, Marc? J'aime lire les romans de Victor Hugo et j'aime lire les contes de La Fontaine. D'accord. Est-ce que tu aimes voyager? Oui, j'aime beaucoup voyager. J'adore voyager. Euh, Où est-ce que tu aimes voyager? J'aime voyager en France, j'aime voyager en Europe, j'aime voyager aux États-Unis. D'accord. Et Pierre, euh, qu'est-ce que tu aimes faire? J'aime regarder des films. Ah, très bien. Quel film est-ce que tu aimes? J'aime les films d'aventure, j'aime les films de suspense, j'aime les films romantiques aussi. D'accord, très bien. Et, euh, et Philippe, quel sport pratiques-tu? J'aime jouer au tennis, j'aime jouer au foot, j'aime jouer au basket. Ah, très bien. Donc, tu es très sportif. Tu es très sportif. Oui, oui, je suis très sportif. J'aime beaucoup jouer euh, et j'aime beaucoup pratiquer des sports. Très bien. Et qu'est-ce que tu aimes comme musique? Quelle est ta musique préférée? J'adore le jazz, j'adore le rock, j'adore la musique classique. Oh, très bien. Euh, OK. So you can see me improvising a little bit some of these conversations. So if you have any questions, I would recommend if you can join the Facebook group. I'll put a link on this YouTube video, or you could put a comment on here on the YouTube video or in the Facebook group. And I would mention, as I did in the Spanish lesson, you can use SpeakPipe to record yourself, and you can get like a 1-2 minute audio recording of some of these phrases that we've looked at today. And if you're looking at new vocabulary words, you could use wordreference.com. It's a really good online dictionary. And there's also user forums, so you can ask questions about grammar and usage and translations. And Wiktionary.org is a really good website where you can look up a word, see if it's a verb, you can look at its conjugation noun, you can see how the spelling changes for like the plural, or in other languages if they had declensions. French doesn't have declensions, but in other languages you could also see that. And finally, in Italki, you can use the community in the notebook entries area, and you could write a text, a notebook entry, and get it corrected by native speakers. So you can write up to about 2,500 characters on there. And so that's a really good community for the writing and corrections and finding other teachers and native speakers and language exchange partners. So between using SpeakPipe to record yourself, you can get a link to your audio file that's saved on a server, and you can share that link with language exchange partners or teachers, along with a link to your notebook entry. And this is a really good way to get feedback on your speaking and on your writing. And in the Facebook group that I admin, you can find language exchange partners and perhaps teachers. So, and you can leave a comment on this YouTube video or join us in the Facebook group. So thank you very much for watching this video. And so we'll finish here for today, and we'll see you in another lesson. Take care.